I was on my way to my daughter's house for dinner, looking forward to a warm family evening, when my lawyer sent me a message. Call me urgently. My heart skipped a beat. I dialed the number, and what he told me about my daughter shocked me. You won't believe what she wanted to do. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. My hands were steady on the quarterly reports when my phone buzzed. The screen lit up with Michael's name. Call me immediately. Emergency regarding Ada. Mr. The pen slipped from my fingers. 30 years of building Hansen Tech, and I'd never seen Michael Reed write an emergency about family. I dialed before the screen went dark. Wiley? His voice was professional steel. I need to warn you. Ada filed a lawsuit. She wants you declared incompetent to run Hansen Tech. The words hit like ice water. What are you saying? That's impossible. She's my daughter. She has a group of shareholders. They claim you've lost your edge due to emotional instability. I dropped into my chair through the floor to ceiling windows. Seattle's skyline blurred. The same view I'd watched for decades while building this company for her. How much time does she have? Hearing in 1 week. We need to act fast. My mouth went dry. 1 week? Wiley, she's been preparing this for months. The documentation is extensive. Financial records showing supposedly erratic decisions. Testimonies from board meetings. I stood pacing between my desk and the window. Rain streaked the glass like tears I couldn't shed. What testimonies? Claims about emotional outbursts. Questionable strategic choices. They're painting you as a man losing control. That's absurd. But even as I said it, doubt crept in. Had I shown too much passion in recent meetings? Defended old strategies too fiercely? I know it is, but they have paperwork. Wiley, lots of it. The office felt smaller. Suddenly awards lining the walls. Photos of groundbreaking ceremonies. All meaningless if my own daughter could take it away. Who else knows? The filing is sealed for now. But the shareholders she's recruited, James Corbin, Patricia Wheeler, 3 others, they're meeting tomorrow. I gripped the phone tighter. She recruited them with promises of higher dividends under new leadership. Her leadership. The betrayal cut deeper than any business loss I'd faced. Ada, my brilliant, ambitious daughter. The one I groomed to eventually take over. But not like this. Never like this. What do you need from me? Everything. Financial records, medical documentation. Proving your competence. Character witnesses. We're building a defense from scratch in 7 days. I closed my eyes. 48 hours ago, I'd been planning to mention her promotion to CEO within the year. Now, she was trying to destroy me. Wiley, are you there? I'm here. My voice sounded foreign. Schedule whatever meetings you need. I'll clear my calendar. Good. And Wiley, don't confront her yet. We need to understand their strategy first. After hanging up, I sat in the growing darkness. Seattle's lights twinkled below, but the warmth had left the room. I left my life. I gathered my things mechanically. Coat, briefcase, keys. The same routine I'd followed for 30 years, but everything had changed in one phone call. The elevator descended in silence. 50 floors down, my legs felt unsteady. In the parking garage, I sat in my car for 10 minutes, hands on the steering wheel, try and make sense of it. Ada was having dinner with her family tonight, our weekly tradition. Should I go pretend nothing had happened? The thought of sitting across from her, making small talk while she planned my destruction. But maybe I needed to see her face, study her expressions, and understand who my daughter had become. I started the engine and pulled into Seattle's evening traffic. Heading toward Bellevue toward answers I wasn't sure I wanted to find. Ida's front door opened before I could knock. She stood there in her cream sweater, a smile perfectly calibrated. Dad, right on time. Her hug felt rehearsed. Come in. It's freezing out there. I studied her face for cracks in the mask. Found none. Sophie's been asking about Grandpa all day. Ida led me through the foyer. She drew you another picture. The house smelled like roasted chicken and lies. I followed her into the open kitchen where Trevor was setting the table. He looked up with nervous energy. Wiley, good to see you. His handshake lingered too long. Can I get you a drink? Wine? Something stronger? Wine's fine. I watched Ida move around the kitchen, efficient, controlled, the same way she handled board meetings. Sophie bounded in wearing paint-stained overalls. Grandpa, I lifted her easily, grateful for something genuine in this house of pretense. What's this I hear about a picture? It's us at the office. See, that's you at your big desk. And that's me in the spinning chair. She thrust a crayon drawing at me. Stick figures in what resembled Hanson Tech's logo colors. Innocent, trusting, everything her mother wasn't. It's beautiful, sweetheart. I kissed her forehead, catching Ida watching us. Something flickered across her expression. Guilt, calculation. Sophie, wash your hands for dinner, Trevor said, his voice too bright. Ida moved between stove and counter with practiced efficiency. Dad, you look tired. Maybe you should rest more. The loaded question. I met her eyes. Work keeps me sharp. By the way, how are things in the finance department? She paused, wooden spoon halfway to her mouth for tasting. Let's not talk about work at dinner. Since when? I kept my tone light. You usually love discussing quarterly projections. Not tonight. She turned back to the stove. Family time is sacred. Sacred like loyalty used to be. Trevor cleared his throat. Sophie drew that picture during her art time today. Sophie had been talking about visiting the office again. Maybe next week. I told her, silently wondering if I'd even still have an office next week. She climbed into her booster seat. Grandpa Wiley, can you tell the story about the first computer? Which story, sweetheart? I smiled. The one when you built the company in the garage. I glanced at Ida. She was slicing the chicken with surgical precision, her movements too controlled. That was before your mommy was born. I explained gently. We had nothing but ideas and determination. And Grandma Elna helped too, Sophie added proudly. The knife in Ida's hand hesitated for just a moment. Her shoulders stiffened. Yes, I said softly. Grandma Elna helped with everything. The silence grew heavy. Trevor quickly filled it by turning on background music. Something classical, something safe. Dinner went on as usual. Sophie chattered about preschool. Trevor discussed his latest architectural project. Ida asked me polite questions about my health, my sleep, whether I was eating well. But every word from her mouth felt like reconnaissance. The chicken is excellent, I commented. Mom's recipe. Ida replied with an edge in her voice. She always said cooking was about love, not perfection. Another loaded remark. Elna used to say that to me when she wanted me to spend less time at the office. She was wise about so many things. Yes, she was, I admitted. Ida's fork tapped sharply against her plate. She understood priorities. The accusation lingered between us. Sophie looked at me with innocent eyes. Grandpa, why are you sad? She asked. Out of the mouths of babes. I'm not sad, sweetheart. Just thinking. About what? About how much I love our family dinners. For the briefest second, Ida's eyes softened. I saw the little girl who used to wait for me at the window, excited for me to come home. But the moment disappeared as quickly as it came. More wine. Trevor asked, already reaching for the bottle. The evening dragged on. Dessert. Coffee. Sophie showing me her drawings. Normal family rituals covering extraordinary betrayal. At 8:15 I stood. Thank you for dinner. As always, it was perfect. Ida walked me to the door. Dad, are you sure you're okay? You seem different tonight. I studied her face. Her concern looked real. Maybe she truly believed this was for my own good. I'm fine, sweetheart. Just thinking about how much Hanson means to me, to all of us. Her expression shifted, a guard rising back into place. Drive safely. Roads are slick tonight. I kissed her cheek. She didn't pull away, but she didn't lean in either. Good night, Ida. Good night, Dad. The door closed behind me with a soft click. Rain began to fall again. Through the window, I could see her clearing the dishes, moving with efficiency and planning my destruction. I parked overlooking Lake Union, city lights shimmering on the dark water. My hands trembled as I called Michael again. Wiley, how did dinner go? Like a performance. She knows how to act concerned while stabbing me in the back. Rain beat against the windshield. Tell me everything. She's been preparing for 6 months. She's got records of so-called emotional outbursts at board meetings. What outbursts? I've always kept control. The Anderson acquisition meeting, he said. You rejected their lowball offer. Apparently, you raised your voice. She recorded it as irrational anger that risked company relationships. I remembered that meeting. I wasn't angry, I was passionate. There's a difference. What else? Financial choices. She claims you let emotions override strategy, the charity work with Elna's foundation, the employee retention programs, things that cost money but weren't strictly profitable. My throat tightened. Those were good decisions. I know, but she's framing them as sentimental, not business logic. I started the engine. I couldn't sit still. What's her timeline? Hearing next Friday. If she wins, she gets temporary control while you undergo a psychological evaluation. And if I refuse, the shareholders could vote you out anyway. She has enough backing. I drove through empty Seattle streets, absorbing the full weight of her betrayal, not just against me, but against everything I'd built. Back home, I climbed to my study. 30 years of memories lined the walls, awards, photos, the trophies of a life's work. I opened my safe and pulled out Elna's letters, the one she wrote in her final months, when she knew time was short. She warned me about priorities. She needs your attention more than the company does. She thinks you don't love her. I had brushed it off. Ida was thriving, successful, independent. How could she doubt my love? But doubt had grown into something darker. I pulled a folder marked EDA, personal. Inside were her report cards, photos of her at company events, standing beside me, proud, eager, when had that pride soured into resentment. My computer chimed with an encrypted email from Michael. Legal documents. Ida's formal complaint was thick with accusations and medical notes. The subject displays emotional volatility, resistance to modern corporate strategies, symptoms consistent with early dementia or depression following spousal loss. Depression following spousal loss. They were using Elna's death against me, using my grief as proof of incompetence. I poured a heavy glass of scotch and read on. Character witnesses against me. Financial analysts calling my decisions reckless. Medical experts ready to say I needed compassionate intervention. A carefully crafted character assassination, all disguised a concern for my well-being. The brilliance of it hurt. At 1 a.m., I shut the laptop. The rain was still falling. The house felt impossibly large and hollow. Elna's photograph sat on my desk, watching. She had warned me. She knew this day might come. I hadn't loved the company more than my family. I had built it for them. For Ida, every late night, every missed dinner. It was all for their future. But I had failed to show her that. And now, she was speaking a different language. The language of corporate war. And she was fluent. I opened my phone and began typing notes. Allies, strategies, proof of competence. If Ida wanted a war, she would have won, but she had underestimated me. I hadn't built Hanson Tech by surrendering. I built it by outthinking, outlasting, and outmaneuvering everyone who stood in my way. Dawn was still hours away, but something stirred inside me. Not grief, not anger, strategy, purpose. My daughter had declared war. Now it was time to remind her who taught her how to fight. The elevator carried me upward with deliberate precision. In my briefcase, 2 weeks of evidence. I was done playing defense. Steve Wilson's corner office was in the same building, 3 floors below mine. Same lake view, different outlook. His assistant waved me in. He's expecting you, Mr. Hanson. Steve looked up from the quarterly projections, reading glasses perched on his nose. 60 years of friendship reflected in those familiar blue eyes. Wiley, perfect timing. I was just reviewing. We need to talk. I set the briefcase on his conference table. With a deliberate thud, closed the door. Something in my tone made him move quickly. The door clicked shut. What's wrong? Ida is trying to have me declared incompetent. Steve's face shifted through 3 expressions in 2 seconds. Confusion, disbelief, concern. That's impossible. I opened the briefcase. Legal documents fanned across the polished table like battle plans. She had filed suit 2 weeks ago, seeking temporary control, while I undergo a psychological evaluation. Steve sank into his chair. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I needed to understand the full scope first. I pulled out the shareholder analysis. Look at this. The document mapped our investors like a military campaign. Green for loyal, red for swayed by Ida, yellow for undecided. Too much red. Corbin's already committed, I said, and Patricia Wheeler, plus 3 others. Steve studied the names. Why did she promise Corbin a 15% dividend increase? Staff cuts. She's talking about implementing AI and automation. A cold weight settled in my chest. That would destroy the company culture we'd nurtured for 30 years. But younger shareholders don't care about culture. They only see numbers. Steve had been monitoring internal communications. Co-founder privileges included full access to company emails. His intel was clear. Ida had been methodical. Every shareholder approached with custom promises. Corbin received profit projections. Wheeler got efficiency studies. The others were promised modernization and growth. She's selling them a fantasy, I said. A profitable fantasy. Steve pulled up email chains on his computer. Look at these revenue forecasts she's sharing. The numbers were extreme, unrealistic, based on firing half of senior staff and automating customer service. This is an innovation, I said. It's corporate vandalism. I spread our financial reports across the table. 3 years of steady growth, consistent profits, satisfied employees. Our retention rate, 94%. Customer satisfaction, industry leading. Yet Ida promised 25% growth through strategic restructuring. The phrase made me sick. Corporate speak for destroying lives. What about Corbin? Is he completely lost? Steve leaned back. Maybe not. He respects long-term stability, but he's afraid of missing the next big wave. Then remind him what happens to companies chasing every trend. I pulled out the competition analysis folder. Companies that followed Ida's strategy. Most had collapsed within 5 years. Remember TechFlow Industries? Steve nodded grimly. Automated everything. Stock price tripled, then customer service fell apart. They're worth 20% of their peak now. We spent the next hour mapping our strategy, which shareholders could be saved, what evidence would convince them, and how to present it without seeming desperate. The rain outside intensified. February in Seattle. Gray skies perfect for corporate warfare. There's something else, Steve said quietly. Her lawyer, Laura Blake. Michael had briefed him. Aggressive. Turns courtrooms into theater. Then we give her a better show, I said. Steve's computer chimed. Board meeting next week. Routine quarterly review. She'll make her move there. Unless we move first, I said. I closed the briefcase but left our analysis spread across his table. Visual proof of our campaign. Schedule a meeting with Corbin, I said. This week. Private lunch. What's the angle? Fear. Show him what happens to investors betting against proven leadership. Steve was already scrolling through contacts. Thursday works. Morton's downtown. Neutral ground. The afternoon light faded. In 2 hours, I transformed from victim to general. Ida wanted war, she'd get it, but she underestimated her opponent. I hadn't built Hansen Tech by surrendering. I built it by outthinking everyone. Michael's law office occupied the 20th floor of Columbia Center, all mahogany and leather-bound authority. I arrived 10 minutes early, briefcase heavy with Steve's intelligence. The receptionist offered coffee. I accepted. This would be a long morning. Mr. Hansen. Michael appeared in the doorway. Ready for war? His conference room had become a command center. Ida's lawsuit documents covered one wall. Our defense materials, the other. Between them, empty space waiting for battle plans. Show me everything, I said. Michael lifted a thick folder. Ida's official filing, 47 pages of accusations, evidence, and medical recommendations. I flipped through it. Surgical character assassination. Every passionate defense of company values reframed as emotional instability. Every innovative risk labeled as declining judgment. She claimed I had lost touch with market reality. Our profits grew 12% last year, but in her version, it was all thanks to her initiatives, not mine. Classic rewriting history. Starring herself as a hero. What about her evidence? I asked. Michael pulled a separate stack. 6 months of documentation, meetings where I allegedly showed emotional outbursts, financial decisions dismissed as sentiment over strategy, the Anderson acquisition, the charity partnership with Elna's Foundation, the employee retention program, all profitable long-term, all dismissed as weakness. And her lawyer? Laura Blake. Michael's expression darkened. 38 wins and 42 competency hearings. She specializes in family business disputes, making loving fathers look like declining patriarchs. I studied her photograph on Michael's computer. Sharp features, predatory smile, a woman who built a career destroying family legacies. Laura Blake is known for turning court sessions into theater. Then we write a better script, I said. Michael laid out our defense. Character witnesses, financial evidence, medical evaluations proving my mental acuity, cognitive assessments with 3 independent doctors, full blood work, psychological evaluation, complete physical. Overkill, but necessary. Blake would challenge me from every angle. The irony burned. At 62, I was sharper than most men half my age. But Ida had weaponized my grief over Elna's death, claiming delayed trauma, emotional decline, poor business judgment, increased volatility, using Elna's memory against me. The calculation was chilling. What's our counter strategy? I asked. Michael smiled for the first time that morning, turned her greatest strength into a weakness. He spread out our evidence. Ida's promises to shareholders, unrealistic financial projections, email chain showing her 6-month deception campaign. We're filing a countersuit for breach of fiduciary duty, conspiracy to defraud shareholders, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. The last charge hit hard, personal, and it was meant to be. Will it work? I asked. It'll force her to defend herself instead of just attacking you, Michael said. He laid out a formal document. Our counter lawsuit. 23 pages of legal accusations wrapped in corporate language. She'll be furious. Good. Angry people make mistakes. I signed the papers with steady hands. No trembling now. Just cold determination. When do we file? Today. Blake will have it by 5 p.m. Outside, the rain had softened. February in Seattle was always harsh. Perfect weather for legal warfare. One more thing, Michael added. The hearing date? March 15th. 3 weeks. I calculated quickly. Enough time to prepare witnesses, evidence, and strategy. If we moved fast. Michael's assistant knocked. Excuse me. Steve Wilson is here for the 11:30 appointment. Steve entered, briefcase in hand. The alliance was expanding. Gentlemen, he said, ready to save our company. The 3 of us stood around the conference table, looking at evidence of family betrayal spread across polished mahogany. Ida wanted to play legal games. I said, now she'll learn the rules. Outside, Seattle's skyline disappeared into gray mist. Inside, clarity crystallized. War had been declared. Positions chosen. Time to remind my daughter who taught her to fight. I arrived 15 minutes early, choosing a table by the window overlooking the market chaos below. March in Seattle brought early spring warmth, vendors selling flowers under cloudy skies. The coffee was bitter. Appropriate. Ida arrived at 2:15 sharp. Charcoal business suit, armor for battle. She surveyed the cafe, calculating exits and witnesses. Dad, she said, sitting across from me, maintaining distance. Thank you for coming. Your message said it was important. I studied her face. She looked tired, thinner than at our last dinner. Carrying the weight of deception wasn't easy, even for her. How's Sophie? Fine. Asking about you. Her words carried accusation. I was the absent grandfather, the workaholic father, the man who chose business over family. And Trevor? Busy with projects, she replied, voice neutral. We danced around the real conversation. 2 combatants testing defenses. Ida, why didn't you come to me directly? Something flickered in her expression. Surprise? Guilt? Still maintaining the lie. Impressive, your concerns, your ideas, your plans for the company. When I tried, you were always busy with the business. There it was, the heart of everything. I built this for you. Her laugh was bitter. No, Dad, you built it for yourself. I was just an addition. The words hit like a physical blow. That's not true, is it? She leaned forward, anger breaking her control. Every family dinner interrupted by business calls. Every vacation cut short for meetings. Every school play missed for board presentations. Memories flashed, Elna's disappointed face. Ida's resigned acceptance at her college graduation. I had been providing for the family. She said I was feeding my ego. Silence stretched. Outside, market vendors shouted their prices. Normal life continued while we dissected 35 years of hurt. I want to modernize the company, but you block my initiatives. What works? My voice rose slightly. Dad, we're falling behind. Tech companies are outpacing us. Our systems are outdated, methods antiquated. Our methods built something lasting, I said. Something dying. She pulled out her phone, charts, graphs, projections showing Hansen Tech as a dinosaur awaiting extinction. Automation could increase efficiency 40%. AI could cut costs in half. Remote work could expand talent globally, eliminating half our workforce. Some positions would be restructured, destroyed. You're talking about destroying lives. People who gave decades of loyalty. Her jaw tightened. Business isn't about loyalty, Dad. It's about results. When did you become so cold? When I realized sentiment doesn't pay dividends. The words hung like a blade. This wasn't my daughter speaking. It was someone else entirely. Who taught you that? You did, she said, eyes locking with mine. Every time I chose a company over them, every time I put success over people, I felt something break inside. Not anger, not betrayal, but understanding. You never meant a lot of things, Dad. She gathered her phone and purse. Intentions don't change results. I'm not the little girl waiting by the window anymore. I don't need your approval, permission, or the company, but I want it. I want to save it from you. She turned, heels clicking against hardwood floors. At the doorway, she paused. Give Sophie my love. Then she was gone, disappearing into the crowd. I sat alone with cold coffee and colder understanding. My daughter wasn't just taking my company. She was taking revenge for 35 years of perceived neglect. And maybe she was right. Courthouse steps slick with rain. I climbed slowly, briefcase in hand. Ida's legal team arranged themselves like predators. Laura Blake at the center, sharp suit gleaming. Ida wore navy blue, competent, beautiful, protecting family assets from a declining patriarch. She didn't meet my eyes. Inside, the courtroom buzzed quietly. Shareholders filled the gallery. Reporters and attorneys drawn by family drama. Michael touched my arm. Stay calm. Answer clearly. Judge Harrison called the court to order. 70 years old. Silver hair. Reputation for no-nonsense proceedings. Case number 2025 to 347. Hansen versus Hansen Tech, Incorporated. Laura Blake rose like a striking snake. Your Honor, this case concerns an aging executive whose judgment has been compromised by grief and stubbornness. She approached the jury box. Elegant gestures. Performance masquerading as argument. Mr. Hansen has lost the ability to make rational decisions. Emotional attachment to outdated business practices threatens shareholder value and employee security. Documents flashed across the screen. Charts, meeting transcripts, 6 months of curated evidence. The plaintiff, Ms. Ida Hansen Miller, seeks temporary guardianship to protect the company her father built from his declining capabilities. Blake's voice was honey-coated poison, professional, persuasive, deadly. Then Ida took the witness stand. My brilliant, ambitious daughter, sworn and under oath to destroy me. Ms. Hansen Miller, please describe your father's recent behavior. My father is guided by emotions, not business logic. Ida's voice stayed steady. He makes decisions based on personal feelings, not financial data. Can you give examples? Blake asked. The charity partnership with my mother's foundation costs $200,000 a year with no measurable return. When I suggested redirecting funds, he got agitated. Agitated? Using Elena's memory as a line item. What about strategic planning? Ida continued. He refuses to consider automation or AI. Claims it would destroy company culture. Meanwhile, competitors gain ground. Blake nodded. How has this affected company performance? We're stagnating. Growth slowed. Efficiency lags behind industry standards. Lies wrapped in half-truths. Our growth had been steady, sustainable. Employees were loyal because we treated them as people, not resources. In your professional opinion, what does the company need? Fresh leadership, modern strategies, focus on profits, not sentiment. The words hit like physical blows. This wasn't my daughter. It was someone else entirely. Michael's cross-examination was surgical. Ms. Hanson-Miller, what was Hanson Tech's profit margin last quarter? 12%, she said. And the previous quarter? 11.7%. So, under your father's supposedly incompetent leadership, profits are increasing. Short-term fluctuations don't indicate long-term viability, she replied. And employee retention? Michael pressed. 94% annually. Industry average, 67%. So your father maintains higher employee satisfaction while increasing profits. Retention can indicate resistance to necessary change, she argued. Michael smiled coldly. Or exceptional leadership. Blake objected. Judge sustained. Damage done. James Corbin testified next. Straightforward, profit-focused. We need leadership that prioritizes shareholder value. Ms. Hanson-Miller understands modern business realities. By the morning's end, I felt drained. Watching your daughter publicly dissect your competence takes strength I didn't know I had. Michael squeezed my shoulder. Phase 1 complete. Tomorrow we fight back. Outside, Seattle's spring rain continued. Ida walked past without a glance, legal team in tow. My little girl, who used to wait by the window, now couldn't wait for me to disappear. My assistant knocked softly. Mr. Hanson, there's something you need to see. Sarah placed a folder on my desk. Employee communications confidential. Her face was grim. Ida had been holding private meetings, promising salary increases that would bankrupt us. I opened the folder. Meeting transcripts, email threads, 6 weeks of secret promises to key employees, 20% salary hikes for engineers, 30% for department heads, non-existent stock options. Where did you get this? I asked. People talk, Mr. Hanson, especially when promises sound too good to be true. Steve Wilson arrived as I read the worst of it. Expression matching Sarah's. We have a problem, WY. He dropped his briefcase on the table. Ida is approaching new shareholders, pension funds, investment groups, painting you as an obstacle to growth. Steve pulled out printed emails. She promises employees 20% raises based on what? Magic. Tells them automation will cover costs. The math is impossible. Full automation wouldn't generate enough savings. This is fraud. Gets better, he said, powering his laptop. Look at her lawyer, Laura Blake. A professional photo appeared on screen. 2 years ago, Blake had been sanctioned by the bar for suborning perjury in a similar case. Temporarily suspended. My phone rang. Michael, WI, I have evidence Blake violated ethical standards. What kind of evidence? She coached Ida's testimony, told her exactly what to say. Witness tampering. The pieces fell into place. Ida's polished performance wasn't natural confidence. It was scripted. More, Michael continued. I found financial irregularities in Ida's account management. What irregularities? Transferred funds without your consent. 3 times. Total, $847,000. Ice water hit my chest. For what? Legal fees, consultants, campaign expenses for the takeover bid. I looked at Steve. His face confirmed it. That's embezzlement. Technically unauthorized use of corporate funds. Yes. Criminal behavior. Steve leaned forward. This could change the case direction. More than change, I said. This could destroy her. The irony burned. My daughter wanted to prove my incompetence with criminal stupidity of her own. I walked to the window, looking out at Seattle, the city I built, where Elna lived and died, where our family grew and fractured. Michael, how we present this? Carefully. We don't want to seem vindictive, just competent. Blake's ethics violations. We'll file a complaint with the bar and simultaneously present it to the judge. Steve organized documents, financial records, emails, employee communications, evidence of Ida's deception. Timing is key, I said. Next hearing Monday. Blake expects us on defense. Instead, we attack. I studied the evidence. 30 years of building a company. 6 months of my daughter's lies. But lies eventually reveal themselves. Schedule character witness meetings. Prepare them for aggressive cross-examination. Steve nodded. Already done. Patricia from accounting, David from engineering. They'll testify to your competence and her deceptions. What about employees she promised raises to? Most are confused, trusted her, but the numbers don't add up. Late afternoon sunlight slanted through my office. Seattle in April could be beautiful when the rain stopped. I'll head home early, I said. Plan our presentation tonight. Steve gathered his documents. We've got enough ammunition to sink a battleship. Let's aim accurately. After they left, I sat alone. The silence felt different, not empty, focused. Tomorrow, we remind everyone who built Hansen Tech and why it deserves better than Ida's desperate ambitions. The courthouse felt different. Tension crackled. Ida sat with Blake, confident from their previous performance. They hadn't seen what was coming. Judge Harrison called court to order. Mr. Reed, you may present additional evidence, he said. Michael rose slowly, predator who'd found wounded prey. Your Honor, the plaintiff conducted unauthorized financial operations. Blake shot to her feet. Objection. This is beyond the scope. Overruled. Continue, Mr. Reed, Judge Harrison said. Michael approached the evidence table like a surgeon. During discovery, we found 3 unauthorized transfers from corporate accounts. Total, $847,000. The courtroom went silent. Ida's face went pale. These funds financed Ms. Hanson Miller's legal campaign against her father, without board approval, documentation, or authorization. Michael projected bank statements on the screen. Dates, amounts, recipient accounts. This is embezzlement of corporate funds. Blake scrambled. Your Honor, these accusations are desperate attempts to discredit my client. Desperate? These are bank records. Math doesn't lie, Michael said coldly. Turning to Ida. She looked smaller, the confident executive replaced by a trapped woman. Furthermore, we have evidence of witness tampering. Blake's composure cracked. Preposterous. Ms. Blake coached her client's testimony, gave phrases, emotional cues, and strategic answers. We have recordings. Judge Harrison leaned forward. Recordings? Office security cameras with audio caught the coaching sessions during routine sweeps. Review them immediately, the judge said. When it was my turn to testify, I felt calm, centered, ready. Mr. Hansen, how long have you managed Hansen Tech? Michael began. 30 years. Founded the company in 1995 with $50,000 borrowed against my house. Current revenue, $247 million. Net profit, $29.6 million. Employee count normal. Have you been declared incompetent? No. I underwent comprehensive evaluations last month. Cognitive tests, psychological assessment, physical exam. All normal. Michael presented the reports. Clean bills of health from 3 independent doctors. Why is your daughter pursuing this legal action? I looked at Ida. She stared at her hands, unable to meet my eyes. She believes I prioritize company culture over maximum profits. She wants automation and cost-cutting that would eliminate jobs and reduce benefits. Is profit always the right strategy? No. Sustainable growth balances profitability with employee satisfaction, customer loyalty, and community responsibility. How has this affected company performance? We've maintained consistent growth for 30 years. Employee retention exceeds industry standards. Customer satisfaction remains in the 95th percentile. I've managed every number, every employee, every strategic decision. My daughter wants to sacrifice long-term stability for short-term gains. Blake attacked. Mr. Hansen, haven't you resisted modernization? I resisted reckless change. Technology served business, not the reverse. She claims you're emotionally unstable. My daughter is young and impatient. She confuses passion with instability, conviction with stubbornness. She says, you act on sentiment, I act on experience. 30 years building something lasting. Blake continued firing arrows, but the evidence was overwhelming. Ida had overplayed her hand. When Corbin testified again, his confidence wavered. Are you still supporting Ms. Hansen-Miller's leadership bid? Long pause. I'm reconsidering. Blake's closing argument sounded hollow. The core issue remains. Mr. Hansen resists modernization. Michael responded with surgical precision. The core issue is whether a daughter can steal her father's company through lies, embezzlement, and witness tampering. Judge Harrison's face was granite. Order in the court. Given financial misconduct and ethical concerns, this case requires further review. Ida finally looked at me. Her eyes, Elna's eyes, filled with confusion and fear. The court will reconvene in 1 week for final decision. As the courtroom emptied, Ida approached slowly. Dad. For a moment, she looked like the little girl who asked for bedtime stories. I never meant for it to go this far. But it did, sweetheart. It did. She walked away with her ruined legal team, leaving me alone with the wreckage of our family. Victory felt hollow when it meant destroying your own daughter. All rise for Judge Harrison. Shareholders, lawyers, family members who become strangers. The courtroom stood as one. I felt Steve's reassuring presence as the judge entered. Papers arranged with judicial precision. Please be seated. In the matter of Hansen versus Hansen Tech Incorporated, I have reached my decision. My heart hammered. Across the aisle, Ida sat rigid, Blake's hand on her shoulder. After reviewing all evidence, testimony, and documents, the court finds no grounds for declaring Mr. Hansen incompetent. Furthermore, the evidence of financial irregularities and witness tampering raises serious concerns about the plaintiff's conduct. Case dismissed. Mr. Hansen retains full control of Hansen Tech Corporation. Steve leaned forward. Justice has prevailed. But justice felt cold. Victory meant destroying your daughter. Michael shook my hand professionally. Congratulations, W.Y. Your competency is vindicated. Vindicated? I whispered, bitter words. Across the courtroom, James Corbin approached. Opportunistic as always. Mr. Hansen, I want to express full confidence in your leadership. Yesterday, he backed Ida's revolution. Today, loyal supporter. Of course, James. Business as usual. Laura Blake gathered her papers with mechanical precision. Career dealt a significant blow. Ida sat motionless, staring at her hands. Courtroom emptied. Reporters scribbled notes. Shareholders whispered strategies. Life returning to normal. I couldn't move. Victory should feel better. Steve touched my arm. You did what you had to do. Did I? Or did I just prove Ida right about my priorities? You protected what we built, Steve said. The company was safe. My reputation intact. Shareholders reassured. Everything I had fought for preserved, except my relationship with Ida. She stood slowly, gathering her purse. Trevor waited by the doors, relief clear on his face. The ordeal was over for him too. But Ida looked small, defeated. I surprised even myself. Ida! She turned, eyes red-rimmed but dry. Dad, this doesn't have to be the end of our story. Something flickered in her. Hope. Fear. You lost a battle, not the war with life. Steve watched carefully. Michael pretended to organize papers. Can we talk privately? I asked. She glanced at Trevor. He nodded. Not here, she said quietly. Coffee. Somewhere neutral. I need time to process. Of course, I said, stepping closer. You're still my daughter. Brilliant. Capable of great things. Her composure cracked slightly. Even after everything you did? Especially because of everything you did. It took courage to challenge me, even if the method was wrong. She looked at me with Elena's eyes, confused, hurt, but seeing something new. I'll call you next week, I said. It wasn't much, but it was a beginning. As she walked away with Trevor, I felt something I hadn't expected. Not victory, not vindication. Hope. The company was mine. The family could still be saved. And maybe we could build something better together. 10 days later, I arrived at a bench overlooking Lake Union. Sunlight sparkling on the water, Seattle's skyline behind the trees. I needed time to prepare. This conversation would determine whether we had a future or just a legal past. Ida appeared at 3:15, walking slowly. Jeans, sweater, no armor, just my daughter. Dad. She sat beside me, careful distance. Thank you for coming. I've been thinking about what you said at the courthouse. The lake lapped against the shore. Joggers passed. Normal life continued while we attempted to rebuild ours. I never felt like you were proud of me, she said. Words like physical blows. Ida, I said, turning to face her. I was always proud of you. I just didn't know how to show it. Your mother tried to tell you. She said, I needed words, not just opportunities. She was right. I exhaled. I wanted to prove I was worthy of your love. My love doesn't need proof. It's unconditional. She laughed bitterly. Then why did it feel conditional? Why was work always more important? I watched sailboats on the lake. I built Hanson for you, for our family's future. Every late night, every missed dinner, every sacrifice, I thought I was providing security, but I was also providing distance. Yes, I confused providing with parenting, success with love. Her eyes filled. I needed my father, not a benefactor, and I needed to learn the difference. Silence stretched, not uncomfortable now, honest. When I filed that lawsuit, I wasn't just fighting for the company. I wanted recognition, validation that I mattered to you. You've always mattered. I just showed it poorly. She wiped her eyes. I nearly destroyed everything. No, you nearly saved us. How can you say that? I tried to have you declared incompetent. I lied to shareholders. You forced honesty. You made us confront what was broken. The lake reflected clouds. Seattle in late spring felt full of possibility. What happens now? She asked. That depends. Do you still want to modernize the company? Shared leadership. She stared. Are you ready to trust me with part of the company? I'm ready to trust you with the future. Her breath caught. Koso, innovation and experience. Partnership instead of war. You do this after everything? Because of everything. You were right about modernization. I was right about culture. Together, we can build something Elena would be proud of. She paced to the water's edge, thinking, then returned. What about the board? Supportive. Shareholders want stability and growth. Employees will respect the Hanson name, both of us. I have conditions. Name them. Full transparency. No decisions without consultation. Modern technology. Employee profit sharing. Agreed. My conditions: maintain company culture. Gradual change. Family time protected. Weekly dinners. No business talk during Sophie's bedtime stories. Continue Elena's foundation. She smiled, the first in months. Deal. I extended my hand. Partners? She shook it firmly. Partners. Then, unexpectedly, she hugged me tightly. I love you, Dad. I love you too, sweetheart. Always have. We stood by Lake Union, father and daughter, becoming something new. Family, partners, future. Later, the kitchen smelled of Elena's favorite recipe. Ida moved with practiced efficiency. Celebration in every gesture. Dad, I prepared your favorite dish. I arrived with a package and my grandfather's smile. Something smells like your mother's cooking. Same recipe. Same love. The table was formal but warm. Sophie bounded in, dressed messy from painting. Grandpa brought something special. I handed her the wrapped package. She tore through it, revealing a miniature business suit. Will I be the boss? Someday, sweetheart. Someday you might be. Dinner flowed naturally. Sophie chatted about preschool. Trevor shared project plans. Ida outlined gradual modernization for Hansen Tech, respecting staff, improving efficiency. After dessert, Ida produced a partnership agreement. Elegant, simple, shared authority, complementary responsibilities, dispute resolution. Everything two stubborn business leaders needed. Sophie, are you not sad anymore? I asked. No, Grandpa. Now Mommy and Grandpa are friends again, because we're family again. I signed. Ida signed. Trevor popped champagne. We toasted. For generations united. To Hansen Tech's future, Ida said. To family partnerships, I added. Sophie solemnly contributed her apple juice. To Elena, Trevor raised his glass. To Elena, we echoed. I felt her presence. In Ida's smile, Sophie's laughter, and the possibility of healing. What happens Monday? Sophie asked. Mommy and Grandpa go to work together. Ida explained. Like a team? Exactly like a team. I picked up Sophie, spinning her gently. Best team in Seattle. Outside, summer began. Long days, warm nights, new possibilities. Inside, we were beginning to. Something better. Honest. At 8:30, arms full of Sophie's drawings. Heart full of hope, Ida said. See you Monday, partner. See you Monday, daughter. Driving home past Hansen Tower, the courthouse, Pike Place Market, I realized it all led to tomorrow. Partnership, family, future. A 4-year-old's vision of harmony. Perfect business plan. Did you feel the tension, the betrayal, the family fight come alive? Don't miss what happens next. Smash that like button. Subscribe for more real-life drama and unforgettable Reddit stories.